This is just a quick word before the video starts. I have no more complete uniform to show you. They're all done now. This next one's going to be just British military rifles through the ages. I have got some thoughts on other ones. I've got some odd little bits of miscellaneous bits of equipment that I can make videos out of, and I think it's beginning of September. I'm going to France and Belgium with my brother-in-law. We're going on a battlefield tour of the First World War battlefields. We're going to Waterloo, actually, starting in Waterloo, Ypres, Verdun, and then maybe hopefully see the Normandy beaches. So I'm hoping to try and make a video of that as well while we're out there and turn it into a video. But I'm going to have a bit of a break after this video. Just over 7 years ago, I was having treatment for prostate cancer. And after my treatment, I was alright for a few years. Then about just over 12 months ago, I wasn't feeling very well again. So shipped to the doctors, had some scans, and my prostate cancer's come back. And I had radiotherapy the first time, so I'm not allowed to have that again for the second time for some reason. And luckily, it just hasn't spread anywhere else at the moment. It's in the lymph nodes around the prostate, so I think surgery's out of the question. And I've been told it's not curable, but as long as it stays where it is, I should be okay. So now I'm on tablets and injections, and they're going to try and keep it where it is, and hopefully it'll be okay. But every 8 weeks, I have a blood test, and then I go to the hospital, get the results, have a bit of a quick check, and then they give me some more tablets. Well, the last couple of blood tests, the PSA levels started to go up again, only very slowly, and it's still very low. Nothing to worry about yet, but I had a word with my consultant, and he said that he's going to review me again in another 4 months, and if the prostate levels are still going up, I'll probably have to have some more scans, and if anything's changed, if it started spreading, then I'll probably have to have chemotherapy. So I've decided that I'm going to have a break now. I'm not going to do any more videos for a while. This medication on it makes me tired anyway, and some days I'm okay. Some weeks I'm fine, and maybe for a week or 2 weeks I'm great, loads of energy, and then the next week I'm fit for nothing, so I'm going to give it a break. Thinking about the first time when I had it, when I had the radiotherapy, that was 6.5 weeks of radiotherapy. That sounded a bit daunting at the time. It was going to be every day, every Monday to Friday for 6.5 weeks in a row. But it did soon pass, and my appointments were 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so right at the start, for the first couple of weeks, I was still working. I worked till lunchtime, after dinner, have a bit of a rest, and have my radiotherapy. And radiotherapy, there's just nothing to it, really. You don't feel anything. You just go into this machine, and this machine goes back and two across you, and you don't feel anything. But as the weeks progressed, you get more and more tired, and your bladder just goes completely out of control. It's just unbelievable. And I remember about halfway through the treatment, we're on our way to the hospital. The other half was driving, and I always went to the toilet before we set off, and the hospital's only about 20 minutes away. And we got halfway, and I thought, I can't go any further. So I had to pull up on the hard shoulder, and I hid behind the support of a bridge, and had to have a wee. And then another time, we were coming home, and we passed a motorway service on the way, and I felt a desperate urge to have a wee, and I could see the service in the distance. I thought, oh, it'll be okay, I'll make it. And we're getting closer and closer. And then he was still inside, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to make it. So we had to stop on the side of the motorway, and I had a wee behind the door of the car, out of sight. And as the time went on as well, I got more and more tired. And every time we went for my treatment, I must admit, the cancer treatment was amazing. The staff there are unbelievable. It's fantastic. It's the best of treatment. But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say then. Oh yeah, every time we went, the nurse would always say, how are you feeling? And about halfway through, get towards the end, I said, I'm getting a bit tired now. And the nurse just looked at me and said, "Oh, that's nothing, wait till you finish your treatment." And wow, thank you. And she was right though, blimey. When I finished my treatment, oh dear, my bowels, a little bit, but my bladder was so out of control, it was unbelievable. For about at least 3 days, I just didn't get any sleep at all. Every 15-20 minutes I had to go to the toilet, day and night. So at night time I'd be in bed and lie down, and I'd get an urge to wee, and I'd hold on as long as I could. And after a while I think, I've got to go. And go to the toilet, have a wee, you come back, you lie down, and the minute you lie down you think, oh, I've got to go again in a minute. And I'd lay there as long as I could, but every 15-20 minutes I had to go to the toilet. So after about 3 days I was completely worn out. And I've always been quite frightened of dying, but during that time, those 3 days, I remember one night I was lying in bed and I was so tired and I felt so ill. I thought, if I die now, it would be a relief. I thought, it'd just be, I wouldn't care, but I got over it, started getting better, but like for months after, I couldn't really go anywhere because when you get the urge to wee, you can't hold it, you've got to go, and that's it, just nothing to do, you just got to go. So quite a few months I never went anywhere, so all through that time, probably 2 years probably, you put your life on hold and hope for the best, and it was okay for a while. But like I say, about sort of 12 months ago, I started to feel a bit unwell again, and went to the doctors, and my prostate cancer's come back. So so I'm gonna have a bit of a break from the filming, and I don't know, have a bit of a think, sort my life out a bit. But I would just like to get into a few thank yous. The first one to my friend Chris. He's the guy who does all the editing for me. I do all the filming, tell him which orders to put him in. But he puts them all together, cuts out any bits that's wrong, and he finds the sound effects, puts them on, puts the titles on. So without him I couldn't do it at all, no chance. And as well, I'd just like to thank all the people who subscribe to my channel. It was, it's amazing. I was amazed. I didn't think anybody would subscribe, to be honest, and I've got over 2,000 subscribers now. And I'd also like to thank some of the people who regularly comment on my videos, especially to a guy called Steel Helmet Stamp. He has a YouTube channel, and we've become good friends really, and he's actually been down to see my collection. He lives a long way off, but he came down one day, and I'm hoping to go up and see his collection sometime. So, and anybody else who made comments, and I actually got a comment on one of my videos from Mark Felton. I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube. He's got sort of 2 million subscribers, and he left a really nice comment on one of my videos. It was about a British soldier fighting in Burma in the Second World War, because it related to his grandfather, and he made a really nice comment, and he just said how the video my uniforms were museum quality. But for somebody like him, he's a historian. He writes books, he does lectures, he's got over 2 million subscribers, he's got hundreds and hundreds of videos, and to think that somebody like him has been watching my videos and made a nice comment on it, that's just insane. I can't get over that, I just can't get over it at all. And also with collecting military, you can meet some nice people. Another chap I met just collecting, my now friend Mike, he had some items for sale on on eBay, and I bought them, and we exchanged a few messages, and then I bought something off him, and he said he'd just bring it down, save on the postage, and I don't know, since then we've been back into each other's houses, seeing his collection, he's been looking at mine. He's got a great collection of First World War equipment, lots of pickle holes. So, collecting military, you can meet some really nice people. And this YouTube, like I say, I've been amazed. I've been absolutely amazed. I never thought I would get the subscribers like I did. And some of the views you get is unbelievable. And like I say, Mark Felton watching them, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? So that's just a thank you to everybody. So, like I say, I'm going to have a break for a while, and hopefully I'll do some more. I've got some ideas, but like, I have no more complete uniforms. But maybe I might see you again in the future. But I'm going to have a break now and have a bit of a rest. So see you later. These are some of the most recognisable rifles of the British Army over the years. The first one is a Brown Bess flintlock musket. Then after that is the Enfield percussion musket. The only difference being they were loaded the same, but the Brown Bess was ignited with a flint and the Enfield was ignited with a percussion cap. But in between there, right at the end of the American War of Independence, there was a British Major Patrick Ferguson. He did actually invent a breech loading musket. There wasn't many of those that were made, only about 100 or 200 of those were ever made, and I think some were used in one or two of the last battles of the War of Independence, but they were very expensive to make and took a long time, so they just sort of faded away after that. Then after the Enfield percussion musket came the Snyder Enfield. I'm still looking for one of those, I haven't got one yet. That was a breech loading rifle, and at first a lot of the Enfield percussion musket, they were just converted. They'd cut a piece out near the hammer there and put in a flap where so they could load the bullet. Then after that came the Martini Henry. That came out in 1871. That was from a design by a Swiss chap called Frederick von Martini and a Scotchman, Alexander Henry. That went on in service for 47 years. If anybody's seen the film Zulu with Michael Caine and Stanley Baker, they'll have seen that rifle used in there. A very well-known rifle. Then after that came the SMLE, the Short Magazine Lee Enfield. No, actually, I've missed one there. There should have been the Lee Metford and the Long Lee Enfield came out first, but I don't have any of those. The Lee Metford came out first, and then that was later on. It was improved by the Long Lee Enfield. I did have a Long Lee Enfield at one time, but I sold it, which I regret. I wish I'd kept it. Then after that came the Short Magazine Lee Enfield. That came out in 1907, and that went on all the way through the First World War and the Second World War and beyond. It was a very reliable and accurate rifle. But then during the First World War as well, we're short of weapons for the army, so the next one along is the P14. They were made in America. The P14 is the .303 version of the P17, and after the First World War, they were used again in the Second World War, mostly by the Home Guard. And then in 1931, just before the Second World War started, they were looking on a new design of the SMLE, and they came up with the number 4 Lee Enfield, but it was a lot lighter and a lot easier to produce, but none of those saw much service till about 1942, and it was really before the end of the war when they came into mass production, and they were seen as well long time after the war. Then second from the end, we've got the L1A1. That's a self-loading rifle. That came out in 1954 with the British Army and went on into 1985. That was used in the Falklands War. And then the last one along, that's the SA-80. That one's just a replica. When that first came out, it wasn't very reliable. It was always having loads of problems with that, but they did eventually iron most of them out. But that's, it wasn't very good at all. So, but that's just the ones I've got at the moment. So I'm going to go into, I'll show you a bit closer up, closer details in a minute. This is the Brown Bess. This was used all throughout George III's reign, and he died in 1820, and his son George IV, he only ruled for 10 years, I think it was. So this musket must be at least 200 years old. Then there's the Enfield percussion musket. These were used in the Crimean War. But this one's dated 1858, so it would just miss the Crimean War. It'd be just afterwards. This is the Martini Henry from the Zulu War of 1879. This particular one is dated 1875, so it could have been there, you never know. This is a classic. This is the SMLE. This one's dated 1914, so it's an early one. It's got a magazine cut off and also a volley sight. They were done away with during the First World War. They found they weren't needed. It wasn't only these P14s that the Home Guard used in the Second World War. One or two of the Martini Henrys were converted to 303. And my father was in the Home Guard during the war, and he said he was issued with a Canadian Ross rifle from the First World War. So there was lots of different ones that the Home Guard were issued with, but this is one of the main ones. Because the British Army lost a lot of rifles at Dunkirk, though when beginning of the war there was a real shortage of just ordinary rifles for the army, and long before this came into full production, quite a lot of these were made in Canada and America on the Lend-Lease scheme, and they would be stamped US property. This particular one, this is one of those. On the other side of the breech, it's stamped up with US property. Another classic of the British Army is the L1A1 self-loading rifle. This one has wooden furniture, so it's an early one. I think it's by 1970. All that was changed to plastic, and those have been used in Northern Ireland, troubles in Aden, Malaya, and the Falklands War. It went on for a really long time. And there we've got the flip-up handle. That's for carrying the rifle. But that would be pushed down again when they're going to use it. Get out of the way of the sights. Then finally we have the SA-80. This one's actually a replica. It's what's known as a bullpup. That's when it's a very short rifle, and then the magazine is at the back of the trigger instead of the front like normal. And you'd see a lot of these used in the first Gulf War of 1991.